Okay. Any questions?
You mentioned the senators that are here, Mr. President. Do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the government
Well, it
shutdown?
depends what deal we're talking about. But if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit. But I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything. And we have support from enough Democrats. And we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good. We're not going to be giving $1.5 trillion to people that came in from jails and from, the gangs and drug dealers and all of these others that they wanted to be given health care, which would have hurt our health care system. I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please.
The Syria president, sir, could you update us on your meeting? Did you come to any agreements?
Say it.
With the leader of Syria you
Yeah.
had earlier, did you come to any agreements today?
Well, I've had an agreement with him. He's a very strong leader. He comes from a very tough place, and he's a tough guy. I liked him. I get along with him. The new president of Syria. And we'll do everything we can to make Syria successful, because that's part of the Middle East. We have peace now in the Middle East, first time that anyone can remember that ever happening. And as you know, Syria is a very big part of the Middle East, very important part. If you look back at Syria, for years they had the doctors, the lawyers, they had so many of the great intellects. It's an amazing place with great people, and we want to see Syria be successful along with the rest of the Middle East. So I have confidence that he'll be able to do the job. Absolutely.
How close are you to a deal, a trade deal with India? Are you
Right.
willing to consider lowering the current tariff rate?
Well, right now the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down.
So what kind of level are we talking about here?
I mean, at some point we're going to be bringing them down. Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. We have more than, I would say right now, more than $18 trillion. The biggest number ever is a tiny fraction of that for any country. China, the United States, the biggest number ever. If you look at the past administration, Biden, he did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We're over 18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of. We have AI factories. We're leading China by a lot. We have cars and, car plants coming in by more than we've ever had built before. All of that would go away if we lose the tariff case. So all of it would go away. So they're not giving the right numbers. It would be an economic disaster. It would be a national security disaster if we lost the case in the Supreme Court. Daniel?
President, back to that tariff
Yes.
rebate, this is an idea that you've been talking about for months. This is going to directly
Yeah.
and positively impact millions of Americans. Why was this important for you to do, and when can Americans expect that?
So I've been talking about it for a long time, the dividend to people that, have suffered under the Biden administration. So Biden had the highest inflation in history. And we now are at a very low point. We're going to be hitting 1.5% pretty soon. So we're at a low point, and he was a high point. We did that. Food prices are way down. It's all coming down. And the biggest decrease, of course, is energy. And, you know, as goes energy, goes everything else. Because when energy comes down, the oil, the electric, I think you're going to see $2 gasoline or something very close to that. In fact, we're already in the twos. But I think you're going to be seeing very soon $2 gasoline. That's like the equivalent of a massive tax cut. But in addition to that, the great big beautiful bill gives you a very, very big tax cut. And then you have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime for the middle income and for even, frankly, anybody. But you have no tax, and the no tax on tips has turned out to be a tremendous thing. But when you think no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our seniors, it's the great big beautiful bill, which has been mischaracterized. But now people they don't want to talk about it because it's so good, the enemy, because it's so good for everybody. It's the greatest piece of legislation ever passed in the history of our country in terms of size. And hence they call it the big beautiful bill, or the one big beautiful. I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's an amazing bill for the middle class. It's an amazing bill for jobs. We've never passed anything like it. And in my first administration, so we had the greatest economy. Everything was good, but we're really outdoing it this time because we have investments coming in largely because of tariffs. And I think because of November 5th, the election result. But we have investments coming in like we've never had before.
The deal on Syria, Mr. President, on Syria.
Please, behind you. Caitlin, behind you. Thank you, Caitlin.
On Syria, can we expect an announcement on a pact between Syria and Israel, or an announcement on them joining the anti-ISIS?
Yeah, you can expect some announcements on Syria. We want to see Syria become a country that's very successful, and I think this leader can do it. I really do. I think this leader can do it. And people said he's had a rough past. We've all had rough pasts. But he has had a rough past, and I think, frankly, if you didn't have a rough past, you wouldn't have a chance. He gets along very well with Turkey, with President Erdogan, who's a great leader. Erdogan's a great leader and very much in favor of what's happening in Syria. We have to make Syria work. Syria is a big part of the Middle East. And I will tell you, I think it is working and really well. We're working also with Israel on, getting along with Syria, getting along with everybody. And that's working amazingly. As you know, Hamas has given us back numerous bodies. It sounds pretty gruesome, but it's something the parents want more than if their son had been living. Hard to believe. I've seen all of the parents, so many of the parents, and getting back the body of their son, their dead son, is as vital to them, as important to them, as if the boy was generally the boy was alive. And as you know, over the last 4 or 5 days, we've gotten a lot of the additional bodies that they said they were going to. They've worked very hard to do that. So we have peace in the Middle East. It's a great thing, and nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
After your meeting with the
Trade
Syrian
talks
president
with
today,
Switzerland,
Mr.
you posted
President.
last week about trade of your talks with Switzerland. We're reporting that you're near a deal that would lower their rates.
With Switzerland?
Yeah.
We're working on a deal to get their tariffs a little bit lower because.
15% is what we're doing.
No, I haven't said any number, but we're going to be working on something to help Switzerland along. We hit Switzerland very hard. We want Switzerland to remain successful, and we're a part of Switzerland in the sense that they've been a very good ally. Yeah, we're working on them and some others, and we're working on others to increase them a little bit too.
How close is it to Switzerland?
Switzerland? What, do you have something to do with Switzerland?
He wants to buy a wall.
He wants to buy a nice one. He wants to buy a nice Rolex, right? We'll give Rolex some publicity because Rolex has they've been very nice,
That's why.
Now, look, it's a beautiful country. It's a small country, but economically very big. So we're working on something.
After
Caitlin?
your meeting with the Syrian president earlier today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you've said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it otherwise. You're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would have never happened if I was president. And if I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know. I don't devote a lot of my time. Let me give you another example. China. China was going to hit us with rare earth. Now, everybody says, what does that mean? Magnets. If China refused to give magnets, because they have a monopoly on magnets, because they were allowed to happen over a 32-year period, there wouldn't be a car made in the entire world. There wouldn't be a radio. There wouldn't be a television. There wouldn't be internet. There wouldn't be anything because magnets are such a part. Now, nobody knows what magnets are. And not overly sophisticated, but to build a magnet system would take 2 years. So if I weren't able to say to China, look, if you're going to do that to us, we're going to charge you 158% tariff. It was 100% on top of 58%. And China called up immediately and said, we will make peace. And we made peace. We made a great deal. We made an unbelievable deal. China's paying tariffs to the United States, not the United States paying tariffs to China, which has always been the way it was. Nobody can believe these deals. But so when somebody makes a statement about he's devoting time to the world, well, the world is the United States because if the world's in trouble or if the world is ripping us off, the world was ripping us off before I came here. Europe was getting massive tariffs. They were sending us 9-10 million cars a year. We were sending them none. They were not taking our agriculture. We were taking massive amounts of their. It was so unfair. Now we have a deal where $950 billion is coming into the United States because of me and because of tariffs. So if I don't do all these things, our country is doing very poorly. So, it's easy to say, oh, don't worry about the world. But the world is turning out to be our biggest customer. The world was on fire. And we could have been in that fire very easily if you didn't have a president that knew what he was doing.
What about can you guarantee to Americans that travel is going to go back to normal once the government...
That travel is?
All the air
It'll go better than normal. You know why?
When the government reopens.
Yeah, sure. It'll be much better than normal because we're buying the most sophisticated avionics and, technology for our control towers. And we didn't have that. We had a guy named Buttigieg. Edge, they say is the best way. Just say 2 edges, like off the edge of a cliff, which is where they were taking us, by the way. Edge was the Secretary of Transportation, and he spent billions of dollars trying to patch together our air traffic control system, which was a conglomeration of all different systems in all different cities. They had hundreds of companies working on it. And they were spending billions of dollars. And when they turned it on, it didn't work. It didn't even work a little bit. That's why you had a helicopter crashing into an airplane, that if we had a great system, bells and whistles would have started going off. So we are now in the process. We're in the final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. All the towers will be equipped. They were going copper wire into glass wire into other types of wire. And if you knew anything, copper wire doesn't work with glass. Glass doesn't work with other substances. And they spent billions of dollars, and when they turned it on, nothing happened, okay? We're getting the most sophisticated, all brand new, all brand new. Every control tower will have the same exact system. It'll be the most sophisticated system by far in the world. And what we've done is we've looked around other countries and we've taken the absolute best systems in every different form, because there are different. You have lots of different companies like IBM and Raytheon and a lot of great companies. They're all bidding, and we're going to pick the best one, and it'll get built relatively quickly, and we are going to have the greatest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
The great shutdown. Every presidency faces a shutdown threat. Trump turned it into a governing tool. The latest crisis isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. Departments unfunded, workers unpaid, services frozen, airports delayed, all because one man believes chaos proves control. He calls it negotiation by pressure. In reality, it's sabotage disguised as leadership. Federal employees line up at food banks. Veterans wait for benefits. Students lose scholarships. And Trump stands at the podium bragging about saving money. He's mistaken paralysis for power. When the lights go out in Washington, he doesn't see dysfunction. He sees drama. And for a performer addicted to attention, drama is oxygen. This shutdown didn't have to happen. Congress had bipartisan compromises on the table, but Trump wanted spectacle. He needed an enemy, and he found one in the same place he always does, anywhere that refuses to kneel. So he blamed the opposition, the media, and even the bureaucracy he commands. The government wasn't his tool. It was his hostage. The cost is catastrophic. National parks decay, research halts, food inspections stop, and security gaps widen. America, once the model of efficiency, now looks like a stalled engine coughing in front of the world. And while he tweets, "No problem," from the White House, millions of federal workers wonder how to pay rent. But beyond the chaos lies something deeper, the erosion of faith. When people start believing the system itself is broken, democracy becomes a rumor. Trump didn't just close offices, he closed the idea of governance. He proved that with enough arrogance, a single man can hold a nation hostage to his ego. Shutdowns end, but scars remain. Trust takes years to rebuild. America's enemies don't need to hack its institutions. They just need to watch as its president turns them off. History will remember this not as fiscal prudence, but as the day the leader of the free world couldn't even keep his own house open.